All right, so what you should see behind me right now is, or next to me, is the Monroe County Clerk's Office. So there's been a lot of controversy here because everyone is looking at the disposition that says adjudicated guilty. What he did here and what happened with this plea is he entered what's called a no contest plea. What's unique about it and what you didn't hear happen, okay, if you noticed in that hearing, since we've all heard it now, what you didn't see or hear happen is normally when someone pleads guilty, the judge will require, as a basis to accept the plea, it will require that the defendant make a statement to the court explaining what he did and explaining the basis for the guilty plea. So you didn't see that happen. A no contest plea is a way of resolving something that, again, the state is not willing to just dismiss the charges because, like I said, in this case, if they outright dismiss the charges, they could open themselves up to civil liabilities, potentially, much more easier than if they have a no contest or an Alford plea. In the event, and on Ty's side, he needed to be able to still be in a position that if he wanted to pursue these things, he wasn't giving up any rights to do that. Because when you plead no contest, it's still a contested matter as to his guilt, and it would still allow him to raise any and all issues in regards to saying that he was wrongfully accused, etc. Now, in the spirit of what happens in court, he's adjudicated guilty. He's obviously not given credit for taking responsibility. And in this case, he was sentenced to 910 days. Now, the 910 days represents his incarceration time in jail. It does not represent his time that he spent out on home confinement. So that's why, that's why it's only the 910 days. Reality is this man spent over 7 years almost, I guess like 7.5 years, fighting this. In dealing with this. It's actually kind of, I think it's kind of unique when you look at this and you look at the dates. I want you to look at his arrest date, 11/17/2017, and you look at the date, 11/26/2024. It's been 7 years exactly. Little by a few days. Say that 7 years ago, he was sitting in Monroe County Jail right now. 7 years ago, he was beginning this fight. 7 years ago, Lauren Junet was talking to him on the phone and starting this whole thing. And now, 7 years later, he's finally, going to be able to begin the steps in the process of putting this behind him, if he can ever do that, because it's a traumatic event when you spend 7 years fighting for your life. So, amazing, right? But does this? But the nice part about this plea is obviously there's been some people out there that have come forward and said, "Oh, he pled guilty." He did not plead guilty. Okay, he did not plead guilty at all. In fact, I think it's very telling if they believe this. Look, John Travis Johnson had to be a snitch in order to get the same plea that Ty Tucker got. So if that tells you anything about this plea and what it means for Ty and what it means about his innocence, it's right there. You don't get this plea. You don't get what he just got. Okay. Ever. It's unheard of. He was charged with a capital offense and he just got time served for doing nothing but showing up. Okay. This is the loudest admission possible, besides them dismissing the charges, which they would not be willing to do because they know Ty Tucker has pending civil actions against him. This is such a loud rebuke of the charges that it doesn't get louder, guys. It doesn't get louder. They had this man locked up in jail, no lawyer, willing to go to court, willing to throw this thing against him. And these guys, they got a conscience in the end. They knew. Remember, Alvarez, the way this all came about is Alvarez and Mansfield came to Ty Tucker, my understanding is in the heat of the night, and begged him to take this deal. Begged him to take this deal because they did not want to be responsible for locking up an innocent man. That is what happened in this case. And I'm sure Ty Tucker will tell that story, or maybe he won't tell that story. I don't know what he would feel comfortable, but that's what I'm being told occurred. in the middle of the night, he was taken out of his cell, and they begged him to take this plea. Thank you, Under Your Scars. Thank you for your generosity. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So anyone who thinks that this is in any way indicative of any guilt, this is farthest from the truth. In fact, it's almost, in my opinion, better than if they just dismissed, because it's so unheard of, right? If they would have dismissed it, they would have just said, okay, there's a problem with the case. It's unheard of that someone who they just took the trial in January, who they claim they have all this evidence about, that they just allowed him to enter a plea to 910 days time served, no victim impact statements, nobody shows up. It's done in a 5-minute hearing. I want you to think about all the hearings you've heard. They did a downward departure in this case, okay? And for those of you that have been watching this channel, on Friday, we watched a hearing, a mitigation hearing. There is a mitigation hearing that is normally required. Did you hear the judge where he said this is a downward departure? Yes, it was a downward departure, Judge. This is unheard of. There was no cooperation. There was nothing. There was nothing but Ty Tucker showing up. And that's why Mansfeld and Alvarez knew this. So hats off to those gentlemen for doing that. Now, what they put him through, but hats off to them finally doing what they should have done a long time ago and figuring out how to resolve this case. And they are the ones that got this done, because they knew in their heart that Ty Tucker, as much as they disliked dealing with him in court, they knew he was innocent. They know this is the right thing. They know, like we all know. They know. That's why I spent hours trying to prepare videos and things, because I know Ty Tucker is innocent of the charges that they had him on. And he pled no contest to robbery, but he is absolutely, well, that's correct. They say uncoerced, but it was coerced in a sense that they just did not want to have to go through what they were going to have to go through. And they were, and again, like, if they ultimately would have been successful in January, I mean, God, can you imagine? Can you imagine that unmitigated disaster if they would have been successful in January? All we could say is obviously the higher powers knew what was really going on in this case. They didn't allow this to happen. But what they've allowed for now is they have allowed for Ty Tucker to be in a position to go out and speak about this. Remember, Young Thug did something similar in his case. So this is in no way a bad move. This is a great move. This is absolutely what needs to be done. Now, let's unsealed his plea agreement, but it will be coming. It's got a little clock on it. Normally takes a little while. I think some of these things take like 48 hours or 72 days, or they may just wait till he's completely released to do it. But this is the minutes. I'm going to switch over to it. We're going to explain what you see here. So for those of you, if anyone out there is looking at this confused, we're going to break this down about as easy as we can so that everyone understands. 4 charges. They null pros 4 charges. And he entered a nolo contendere plea, okay? A nolo contendere plea. I want you to look at this. There's guilt, and then there's nolo contendere, no contest. Guilt, admit, nolo contendere, no contest. There's bond, there's treated, speedy trial fact. There's nowhere on here that there's anything else. There's not guilty. There's guilty. There's nolo contendere, or otherwise known as no contest. It is not a guilty plea. Okay, he is maintaining his innocence completely and fully. Court documents and records. Now, what happens though is once he pleads no contest, he essentially says, I'm not fighting. I'm not fighting the state. And the reason why I'm not fighting the state is because they're letting me out of jail. Okay? And if you need evidence, that's what is shown here. He's adjudicated guilty. They dismissed 2, 3, 4, and 5. He's sentenced to 910 days state prison. He gets credit for 910 days. And normally you would not get the computer back. You would not get your phone back. He gets all of his property back that was confiscated from him in both arrests. So he will be getting all of that back. All right. And then on top of that, all of the monies are being, instead of them being cash, him having to go pay, they're just being converted to a lien. Meaning, if he ever tries to own property or do anything in the state of Florida, they could try to come after him for it. But otherwise, they're not going to make it as part of a condition of probation. I mean, this is significant stuff. This plea is unheard of. Okay. No one gets a plea like this. No one gets a plea like this if you're guilty of something. Okay? No one. If they think you're guilty of something, you don't get a plea like this. And I think they knew already. Exactly right. He did well getting the miss. Listen, Ty Tucker absolutely did an amazing job. This guy's a hero down there. Okay. As you probably heard of some, remember, he was talking about the fact that he was helping other people pro se. He was helping other people to do these exact same things. This is a tremendous victory. This is amazing. And he did an amazing job. He's got a lot to be proud of. He's got a lot to be proud of. And hats off to Ty Tucker. I'm glad this is behind him. You know, it's a shame that this couldn't have been worked out sooner. I think, unfortunately, I think they were offering a version of this, but I think one of the reasons, some of you may say, well, I think, didn't you hear? Well, yes, they were offering a version of this, but back when they were offering this after the trial, he had to go on probation for like 5 years. Remember, Travis Johnson, okay, he's on probation right now. He's got 5 years probation. This is unheard of. He is walking free. No supervised release, no probation. He is a genuine, besides the felony on his record, he has full freedoms of any other citizen out there. He can do whatever he wants, as long as it's obviously within the law. I mean, there's no bigger victory than what you've just seen here. No bigger victory than this for a citizen. For a citizen to be able to negotiate a plea like this is unheard of. It's unbelievable. No lawyers. Okay, remember what John Travis Johnson said. He had to pay a lawyer good money to negotiate the plea he got. Ty Tucker did this alone. No lawyers. Nobody. He did it himself. So that is the loudest possible proclamation of his innocence that could be made